Tonight is Ecclesiastes 11. Ecclesiastes 11, and we'll be looking at verses 1 through 6 of Ecclesiastes 11. Ecclesiastes 11, 1 through 6. It says, "Cast your bread upon the waters, and you will find it after many days. Give a portion to 7 or even to 8, for you know not what disaster may happen on earth. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth, and if a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. He who observes the wind will not sow, and he who regards the clouds will not reap. As you do not know the way the Spirit comes to the bones in the womb of a woman with child, so you do not know the work of God who makes everything. In the morning sow your seed, and at evening withhold not your hand, for you do not know which will prosper, this or that, or whether both alike will be good." I want you to see first in verses 1 through 2 that you should be generous and have faith in God's return. You need to be generous and have faith in God's return on your generosity. There's been a lot of discussion over the years, I'm sure probably even back to right after the time of Solomon, when nobody could say anymore to Solomon, "What did you mean by cast your bread upon the waters? What did you mean by that?" The two main interpretations that you'll see out there is one is that he's talking about financially. He's talking about sending ships out with grain and sending grain out. And some translations will even say that. They'll say, send your grain on a boat out in the water. And but literally, this is closer. Literally, what it says is to cast your bread out on the water. So that was one interpretation, is that it's talking about commerce, and then the other is that it's talking about generosity. And I fall on the side that I think that here he's talking about generosity, that we should be generous and have faith in God's return. Why do I think that? If you cast bread on the water, what's the chance that you're going to find it in a few more days? 0, right? You ever thrown bread in water? Some things can happen. One, a duck will come and eat it, right? Some kind of bird will come. Or the fish will jump up and they'll come after it and go after it and eat it, and then it's gone. And if you just throw it in the water, it's eventually either going to sink down, or if it's in moving water, it's going to float off and it's going to be done. And I was at the ocean, and when I go out and look at the ocean, if I threw some bread out there in the ocean, how long do you think I'd be able to see it? It wouldn't be very long. It would be cast down there. And so it's not something that you would think, okay, here's how I'm going to make my investment. I'm going to turn this loaf of bread into $1 million, and what I'm going to do by doing that is I'm going to take it and I'm going to throw that bread into the water, and then I will get such a great return. It doesn't make sense. And here's what does make sense, though, is if this is about being generous and about giving to others in such a way that you're not worried about getting it back yourself, then God is the one that returns it back to you. And that's consistent with biblical teaching on giving, isn't it? Jesus says, as you give, it'll be given back to you, right? The same measure that you used to give, God will give back to you, but what will He do? It says He'll press it down and He'll shake it, and then He'll put some more on it, and then He'll shake it up some more, and He'll make sure that you get back multiple times what it is that you gave. Now, some in the world have taken that and they've taken it to some kind of extreme, and they've used it to enrich themselves, and that's not what God was talking about either. You ever heard any of those televangelists on TV? It says, "I just believe that there's somebody out there, and if they will send a check for $1,000, I can see it now, God's going to give them $10,000 back later this week." Right? Who are you sending the check to? The televangelist is going to use it for jet fuel to put on his jet, right? Okay, that's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, I've got $20 in my pocket, and there's somebody that needs that $20 more than me, and I pull it out and I give them the $20, and they're able to eat, or they're able to get some gas in their car, they're able to do that. And you're not saying, I'm not giving this as an investment, but God sees it as an investment, and He blesses you back for doing that. You cast your bread on the waters, and then you find it after many days. You'll find out that when you give during someone else's time of need, when your time of need comes up, there always seems to be somebody there that's going to help you out. And that's what he's talking about here. Cast your bread on the waters. Just throw it out, not expecting to get it back, and then you will find it after many days. He says then in verse 2 to give a portion to 7, even to 8. Right? Give it to all these people. You see it? You never know when your bad day's going to hit. So go ahead and double down on it. Triple down. 7 times down on it. 8 times down on it. So that you can give and you give and you give and you give and you give. And then guess what? When your time comes, you're going to have plenty of people that are ready to help you out. You never know what disaster may happen on earth. That's one thing about disaster is you can plan a little bit for it, but you can't predict when it's going to happen. Right? We can have a hurricane plan. You can say, all right, if the hurricane's coming, we're going to go this way. But you don't ever really plan for your house to get leveled, do you? You don't plan to be like those people in Bertie County that had the tornado that came through with the last hurricane we had that just leveled their whole neighborhood and they had nothing left. You can't really plan for that. But we can plan to invest in God. And we can plan to invest in people. And then when that unexpected disaster happens to us, then we're good. How many people had a car accident and you were planning on having one? You don't, do you? That's why they call it an accident. You don't plan on it. You're not like, you know what? I think I'm going to run into somebody today. Or you know what? I think I'm going to have somebody run into me today. That's not the way that we do it. You can't plan for those things. You never know what disaster might happen on earth. You never know when the next earthquake's going to hit. You never know when the tornado's going to come. You don't know those things. And so you never know what disaster might come. So give to others, help them out when they're in their time of disaster, when they're in their time of need, and God will return it to you when you are in your time of need. I want you to see in verse 3 some things we know. If the clouds are full of rain, they empty themselves on the earth. If a tree falls to the south or to the north, in the place where the tree falls, there it will lie. Now, those things we know, right? Y'all ever heard the old country saying, it's coming up a cloud? You ever heard anybody say that? Oh, it's coming up a cloud. What's that mean? It means it's about to rain, all right? I've had to explain that to people before. I said, oh, it looks like it's about to come up a cloud. What are you talking about? I said, it's going to rain. I guess I thought it would be a shorter way of saying it's going to rain, but I think it's going to rain's less syllables than it's coming up a cloud. But either way, when a cloud comes up and you see it and you look out in the distance and it's really dark and it's coming, you know that cloud is full of rain and you know what's coming when it gets over there. I love when you're like in some of the flatter places and it's more open and you can look out and you can see the rain coming. Right? You could actually see it falling. Sometimes you'll be on the road, you'll be driving, and you'll look out and see. Or sometimes you just know because you're going one way on the interstate and somebody else is coming the other way, and they've all got their headlights and windshield wipers on the other side. So you know you're about to hit it because you're about to drive right into it. That's something we know. We know just from observation that when we see a cloud that's full of water, we know that it's going to rain. And it's the same way when a tree falls, right? It doesn't matter which way the tree falls. Where does it end up? It ends up on the ground. And it lies there on the ground. Why? Because that's the way gravity works. Gravity pushes the tree down. So when it falls, doesn't matter if it falls to the south or the north, but wherever it falls, that it will lie. There's things we know. Things we can know just by observing them. Things that we can know by science. Things that we can know by logic, by common sense. Things that we can figure out, like we have figured out throughout time, that fire is hot and that if you put your hand in fire, it will burn your hand. We figured that out. And so what do? We say, that's fire. I'm not going to touch it. Ouch, it's hot. Right? Our brains have figured that out, that we shouldn't touch fire, that we shouldn't touch a hot stove top. There's things like that we've figured out and that we can continue to figure out throughout time as humans advance and as we learn more about the way that nature works. So we can know those things, but there's always things that we don't know. And that's what we see in verses 4 through 6. It says, if you spend too much time worrying about the wind, well, If I try to go out there and plant my field, the wind might blow the seeds away. I just don't know if I can do it. And you sit there and you wait, and you wait, you wait for the perfect time to do it, and then guess what you end up not doing? You never get the field planted. And then others say, well, I'd like to get it in, but I don't think I can get it all in before it rains. And if it rains on it before I get it in, then it's going to be wet and it's going to mold and I can't do it. So I'm going to wait till after it rains and then I'll go. And then as soon as that rain comes down, they wait and say, oh, but it's probably going to rain tomorrow too. So I better wait then and I better wait then. And guess what they never do? They never reap. Because there's always an excuse to not do what we need to do. I can't do this because it's too windy. I can't do this because it's too rainy. I can't do this because of X, Y, or Z, whatever idea that it is you want to come up with. So what we have to do is we have to learn to work without worry because we don't know everything. We don't know everything. So we just have to do it sometimes. We don't understand the way the spirit comes to the bones in the woman of a woman with child. I can't understand how a spirit is in flesh and then the spirit leaves flesh. I can't figure that out. I don't understand the intricacies of how it works, but I know it does work. I don't know the work of God who made everything. There's things I cannot comprehend. I cannot comprehend the size of God. I think of this every time I see the ocean, about how it says in the Bible that God measured out the waters for the ocean. He did it in the hollow of his hand. He just went like that. And then you look at the skies and it says he meted it out with a span. He looked with his hand. I can't fathom God as big as he is. I can't fathom the way that he simply spoke and brought creation into being. I can't fathom how he took some dust of the ground and how he made man out of it. I can't fathom that he could take a rib from Adam and make Eve. I can't fathom those things. I don't know exactly how God works. He works in ways that are mysterious to me. He works in ways that are mysterious to you and even mysterious to Solomon, who was the wisest man on earth. So he says, what do we have to do? In the morning, sow your seed. Just get up and do it. Don't worry about it. And at evening, withhold not your hand, because you don't know what's going to prosper. You don't know what's going to work and what's not going to work, because you don't know everything. One of my favorite TV shows, it's not always the best TV show, I guess, for a pastor to watch, but it's The Office. It's a kind of a funny mock documentary that's there. And on one of the signs one time, Michael Scott, he's the manager of the paper company that the whole story's about. And he's written on the wall, he's written, you miss 100% of the shots you never take. And inside quotes, it says Wayne Gretzky, because apparently Wayne Gretzky said one time, you miss 100% of the shots that you never take. And then right under that, he writes Michael Scott, like it's a quote from him. So it's a quote from him quoting Wayne Gretzky. But it's true, isn't it? You miss 100% of the shots you never take. What if when Michael Jordan hit that wonderful shot for all the Carolina fans to win the national championship, what if he had just got the ball and froze up and he said, but what if I miss it? But what if I miss it? He would have missed out on greatness, wouldn't he? What if I can't let the Carolina fans have all the fun with it? What if Deshaun Watson in the 2016 National Championship game, when he was rolling to the right, getting ready to throw the last pass with 1 second left for Clemson to beat Alabama, if he just said, what if the receiver drops the ball? He would have missed it. But instead he threw the ball and it was caught. Michael Jordan shot the shot and it went in. And then he did it over and over and over again with the Bulls over all those years. You'll miss it if you never take the shot. And that's what we'll do sometimes. We will worry something to death where we end up just never doing it. So what do we have to do? We have to work. Work without worry. God may bless it, He may not. We cannot be afraid to fail. If we're afraid to fail, we'll never do anything great. So that's why we have to step out, do something great, because we don't know the way that God works. But I know He'll work something great for us if we'll have faith in Him. Any comments or questions on that?